Hello.
Well, hello. I'm okay. I think we're back again.
We have gremlins today, apparently.
We do have gremlins. Aisla and I have actually been speaking for the last 15 minutes, and
it was amazing. It was the most elevated, inspired. Secrets of the universe were shared.
Absolutely, yes.
And sorry, guys.
Sorry you missed it all. There's nothing like technology in this world. At any rate, it looks like we're officially back live again. So, hi there, Aisla.
Hi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Apologies, everybody. We are evidently we have some gremlins today, so we are now running a little bit late.
Well, I do want to go into our little. We'll be a little bit over for folks, and some of the things we were talking about are definitely, I think, worthy of repeating. And because one of the things Alicia and I were talking about before our first version of the show was how do we engage in ways that really honor both the tumultuous things that people are struggling with, and not get fixated on how awful things are, and really be in a place of not feeling that overwhelming sense of anxiety and powerlessness. And I shared with her this thing I heard about that powerlessness comes from having a sphere of awareness that is significantly larger than your sphere of influence. Mm-hmm. And that really recognizing that in this moment, if you're feeling super powerless, either reduce your sphere of awareness so that you can be present to what you have influence, or you can do what Alicia did 16 years ago and take your sphere of influence and bring it closer to your sphere of awareness. When she founded her Many Voices as part of her response to the earthquake in Haiti.
Yeah, actually, we started before the earthquake in Haiti, but
that's right.
Yeah, doing that work in Haiti definitely elevated all sorts of awareness and drive and purpose. But today, every day it seems like there's something new. And for those of you who are in the States, you are experiencing a lot every single day now. And a lot of people are overwhelmed. And we can get into a place of when you're overwhelmed or you're in that place of fear, oftentimes when it's constant, you shut down, you're paralyzed in your response. You don't know what to do. It's too much. A lot of people think, oh, well, it's just too much. The world is chaos now and I can't handle it. And so we do nothing. Mm-hmm. That is a response. And now is the perfect time to do whatever you can. Yeah. And that just might be say hello to your neighbor. Mm-hmm. Take that moment to look into someone's eyes and ask them, how's your day today? And really take that time to listen. If that is what you can do, do that. Yeah. If you have a garden and you can plant some seeds, plant. Talk to your neighbor about, hey, listen, I'm planting tomatoes. What have you got? Come together, create community, because now it's needed more, I would say more than ever at this point, at least certainly in my lifetime.
Yeah.
there are all sorts of things that are happening globally that are challenging, can be overwhelming to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So do what you can, because you don't have to be on the streets in protest or in a parade. You don't need to do those kind of things. If you can, that's great. But if what you can do is within your own backyard, do it.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, it's going to help your mindset.
Yeah. And just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you can't do something. And I feel like that's a really important, especially when you feel overwhelmed with anxiety or powerlessness, really give yourself some breathing room to think, what can I do? Just a one thing, and do that. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, when I first started Her Many Voices, I was a musician during that time. And certainly when I went down to Haiti, it was right after the earthquake. And it was overwhelming to feel like, well, who am I? You know, and speaking to people who had lost maybe everything and everyone in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, we were standing on the mounds of the body of loved ones underneath us.
Yeah.
You know, and so I went going, well, who am I? I'm just one little musician. But I recognized the power of what I had available to me. I got to go back home to the States, and I got to stand in front of people on a stage and run my mouth and do as much as I possibly could do to get the attention and bring that attention and awareness down to Haiti and what was needed.
Yeah.
And that really did launch a great deal of where Her Many Voices is today. And like you said, you know, we're coming up, I can't believe it, March 2nd, it's going to be 16 years.
Yeah. It can drive. Her Many Voices can drive now, but not a gas-powered car. Let's be clear. But whatever it is. And I know another thing that you're working on is you had a program in partnership with the Neurosculpting Institute called the Refugee Ambassador Program, and you're re-envisioning that or relaunching it. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so originally when we did this, we brought together, at that time it was 11 different women from a wide range of places on the planet. And doulas, nurses, massage therapists, social workers. And what we recognize is that within the communities that we were all working in, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of PTSD. Some of these women were coming from war-torn areas.
Yeah.
And so working with the Neurosculpting Institute gave them the tools to really learn how to deregulate those traumas, right?
Mm-hmm.
That fear, flight, freeze, all of that kind of trauma that we can go through. And so getting the tools to help calm your nervous system, you know, recognize that your brain, it's not the rigid thing that we were told it once was, right?
No.
There's a lot of elasticity to it. We can relearn certain things. We can unlearn certain things. We can relearn. And so working with the Neurosculpting Institute and Lisa Wimberger, who is the founder of it, she was providing tools for these women to work with themselves and then take that information and go out into their communities. And we are doing that again. We're getting ready to launch. We just signed contracts again this past week, and working with people on reservations, working with indigenous communities, working with youth, working with refugees. So we have a couple of people who are in the States who are going to be doing the training. We've got someone here. I'm in the Netherlands, and we have someone here who's going to be doing the training. You know, Lisa and I worked together. She was my percussionist for many, many years, maybe about 10 years.
Wow.
And so we created music together for all of that time. And we recognized at that end of 10 years, we were kind of doing this work-wise, you know, but we both knew what we were doing was going to come back here. And it has on more than one occasion. And I'm very grateful for it, because these are tools that we need today to get through the day.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the new program is it's located in Denver with youth and in the Netherlands with.
So the program is going to be based on who we are training.
Okay.
They'll be working with Denver youth. We'll be working on reservations, and it's a wide range of reservations. It could be somewhere in New Mexico. It could be in Alaska. And on this side of the pond, it's working with a lot of women who are dealing with trauma, and then also youth and people in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
What I find as an artist, as a musician, we might not have 2 pennies in our pocket, but we're the first ones to raise our hand and say, how can I help?
Mm.
And art, storytelling, whatever it is in the arts can be oh so healing for ourselves as well as our communities.
Yeah.
And so to be able to give these kind of tools to people who are working within community
Mm-hmm.
can make a huge difference for people. When we're talking about our population, there's a lot of at risk. We have people who are underserved. We have people who've been silenced. We've had people who have been abused. To get tools to move beyond that, to work through all of that and get to a healthier place within ourselves makes all the difference in how do we face the day.
Yeah.
Given the challenges, whether it's political, environmental, whatever it is, we're facing a lot of challenges today.
Yeah. No. Well, and I'm excited to see it continue, and I look forward to hearing more about the where people are working and what they're up to. And I love to play a game called Where in the World is Alicia Fall, or where is she going to be? So will you let people know a little bit about things you're up to?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm in the Netherlands, I'm in Amsterdam, but next week I will be in Vienna. Her Many Voices is actually hosting an event at the UN in Vienna. It's the 68th gathering on narcotics and drugs. So you have all of these delegates who are going in, and they're addressing issues, big real issues and things that were created as issues, and cannabis being that.
Mm-hmm.
So we are working with Fields of Green for All,
Okay.
and the Cannabis Embassy, to educate people, to educate those who are walking in those doors at the UN, who get to make their decisions on legalities of whether something is this percentage of THC or not, whether it's allowed in your community or not, how do you use it? We have a plant medicine that was taken from us after thousands of years of being able to use this plant in all sorts of ways. It was taken from us.
Yeah.
For politically motivated reasons, for racially controlled reasons, all sorts of terrible things.
For corporate interests.
Corporate interests, all of that. And so there are a lot of people who they were given bad information.
Yeah.
They drank the Kool-Aid and they believed the lies that they were told. And so over the past few years, as cannabis is now being reintegrated into communities, people are being educated along the way, but we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
With Her Many Voices, we are really focused on hemp and CBD products, right? But there are others who are working within the plant medicine of use cannabis for trauma.
Yeah.
Ways, whether you're a vet or you're dealing with all sorts of issues. If you are a cancer patient, many people use this plant. So we'll have an opportunity to go, and the team from Fields of Green for All will be there to help educate these folks who get to make these decisions on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So that's Vienna, and that's next week. And then we've got NOCO, the Northern Colorado Hemp Expo, coming up in April 10th through the 12th. And that's going to be in Estes Park, Colorado. And then after that, we've got Earth Day. We've got an Earth Day event on April 19th
in Denver.
Cooper, Colorado. Yeah.
You can get more details about the Earth Day on our website, and we'll also have a link to the NOCO event in the show notes. And come and see us, say hi at the booth, learn about ways that you can be part of this growing industry that does have a lot of positive climate impact. So that's a thing you can do that will actually be quite delightful.
Yeah. There's so many things. I mean, show up at your local events, and especially when it comes to a day of honoring Mother Earth. I mean, how can you not?
Yep.
Right. Get out in the sunshine or wherever you are, and say thank you. Hug a tree.
Hug a tree. Oh my gosh, you did not go there. Now we're officially tree huggers. Oh my goodness. Well, and I know you met Maren, who is the Gaia Gossip on the Move host through the hemp community, and she focuses on climate solutions. Often the show is about hemp, and this one is, I think, about hemp and a conversation with Blanca around the Voices of the Rift, which is a part 2 of a segment that she did last fall for us, or she did in general, and now we're following up a part 2.
Yeah, and I was hoping to see Maren next week in Vienna, but she's not going to be able to be at the. It's called the Centenary of Cannabis Prohibition. Yeah. But Maren is one of those. Where in the world is Maren Krings? Because she's Maren's always she's all over the planet. So I'm excited to see this next segment.
Yeah, me too.
And hear what she has to say, and listen to Blanca as well.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from Blanca and Maren.
Hello, good morning, hello, good afternoon, and good evening. And a special hello to my guest today, who is Blanca Diego Vicente, a Spanish journalist and radio producer, presenter of Continentes y Contenidos, whose work blends journalism and anthropology, with a focus on gender-based violence, human rights, and international justice in conflict zones. Blanca, you actually are the co-founder of LolaMora Producciones, and you have led global projects supporting women in media and digital security. And we have a special story that connects us today, which is we were both last year in Morocco, and we, in co-production, came up with a piece, Voices of the Reef, on cannabis. Now, I have aired the first part of the let's call it the audio-visual piece last year in October with our dear colleague Pien Metal. And it is an incredible pleasure for me to have you online and live today in the show, Blanca. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Maren. This is very nice to see you. Well, just on the back. Thank you very much for this time, this moment, to Gaia Gossip. And I hope we will have a very nice conversation, and with such an interesting issue about Morocco, but also how we women are producing news, and how we are facing challenges also. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Blanca, for making it possible. Now, I do have to say, I just introduced Blanca as a Spanish journalist, but Blanca is zooming in right now from Mexico, where she's on a very special mission. I think we will probably in future dedicate a whole podcast session to this, because it's incredibly deep and meaningful what Blanca is working on right now, but we're not going to get sidetracked because it's going to blow our couple minutes that we have for today. Let me just add for the audience, in case they're wondering why I'm only in with a static picture today. I am sitting in the dark, in the complete dark, because I only have candlelight around me. So this is why we decided to rather go with a picture than with a really bad picture where you can't be seen. Blanca, it's been quite a bit of time now that we have worked together in Morocco, and I'm actually working currently on the second half of our audiovisual production. And it is mind-blowing to me every time I go through the different sections in our podcast on how much information we collected in in Morocco. Sorry, I'm switching countries here. But also, it was quite a difficult production because we were two people working in different media. You were doing audio. You come from radio productions. I come by tradition from the photography world, but was kind of flirting and borderlining with film and also a little bit of audio. And there were plenty of times where our path is actually separated, and not meaning in like different geographies, but we were on the same farm and we were working in different corners. How do you think that benefited our piece together, and how maybe also made it challenging?
Thank you for having this point here now, because I think we should talk about how we women as journalists, let's say writing or doing radio or photographs, doesn't matter, but we women professionals of journalism, I think we have an ability to understand each other. I think you and me are a proof of this. We didn't know each other before, never. In fact, we didn't know that we were together in this same project with TNI, Transnational Institute. We met there, and but I think everything, the ideas, the day-to-day project was there and was fluent, and we were listening, you and me listening to each other, and we were just sharing knowledge, because you come from a more photographer perspective. I come more from a radio sound perspective. And although this, we combined everything. We were able to listen to each other, to understand to each other, respect our ideas, and trying to figure out, okay, how we as a couple, having, let's say, 2 weeks for traveling and recording and registering testimonies and images and entering houses where we met wonderful people, families, women, men, etc. And we could. And I think this is a very powerful issue between a group of women who are willing to do work, journalistic piece with quality, and talking and combining testimonies from daily life with deep issues, in this case around the impact of regulation of cannabis in Morocco. And I think this is very powerful. And then, and with this I finish, but then I had also the opportunity to do the edition, the final edition of the audio of the podcast with another great woman, technician, and it was the same. I am here in Mexico, she is in Spain, and we were able to work, to listen to each other, to do a very good, in terms of quality, podcast in the working on the distance. So I think we have this ability.
It's actually it's really lovely to hear to your side of the experience, and I can definitely mirror that. It was really lovely working with you, because I've also worked in different teams where oftentimes ego can step in and really make a production so difficult. I think it might be worth for our audience to also elaborate that when you are a journalist, you come with this duty of complete, how do you say that? Unbiased listening. Like, you come with your camera and you're gonna have to hold the space of being the listener, an attentive listener, a good listener, a very awake listener, one that puts the pieces together from different listening that we've done, but also somebody who doesn't step in with an ego. You cannot, you can't become the conversational partner for the person that you're taking a testimony of, or that you're interviewing, or however you want to refer to it. But you basically, if I were to say it very blunt, then you shut up and you take yourself completely out of the picture and just be a listener. But still, you have to comfort that the person across from you. And in Morocco, I found it very interesting because we had very strong characters. We had
Men.
very many, exactly. We had a lot of very different very strong characters that all came. Now we have to also tell our audience that, in yes, we're talking about the legalization in Morocco, but then again, in the fields where we were on the go and doing our reportage, the legalization hadn't really hit. I mean, people were still working in that, let's say, gray off space where it wasn't quite clear to them, are we working legally here? Are we still following an illicit trade? So for them, you had to be accommodating the conversation, making sure that you keep their safety, which I think safety for you even more than for me is a huge topic. I mean, when you're reporting on topics that are in a gray zone, then you really need to make sure that you don't get your protagonists into serious problems after you release a story. And
No,
yeah.
and
Yeah, please,
also I think it is important for audience to understand that Voices from the Reef on Cannabis. I mean, we were slow in the way we were entering and asking for interviews. I mean, you and me, we were inside houses where we met families, big families, very old houses from I don't know which century, but very old houses, impressive. I mean, really places amazing because it is more than, I mean, it is about the history of the Amazigh people, the people who live in this north part of Morocco, in the Maghreb, the Reef area. And we were slow in the process of understanding, in the process of asking, can I take a picture of you, or can I do an interview? And it is true that I would have, I mean, I could, how can I say this? It is true that for us as LolaMora Producciones, because this is part of our LolaMora Producciones issues, that it is true that in this production there are not a lot of women interviewed, because we have to understand that it was our first time there. And I'm sure that next time we will be more focused and interviewing women, not because we want to have women, 50-50. No, this is not about sources of information. It is because we know that women and the jobs women have been done on cannabis industry are invisible.
Yes.
I don't know if you agree, but
probably also a lot of other jobs of the women. I mean, I was just about to say, most of the time the women weren't even there for us to interview because they were busy. They were busy tending to our foods, to the family's foods, to collecting the firewood to make food, to be able to cook. I mean, it's incredible all the weight that's really sitting on the shoulders of the women. In these
and also we have to understand, and we have to tell that, of course, it is a traditional macho style system and society. Yes, of course. It is. And
Yes.
sometimes when I was walking around, or you were walking around, and I asked women, can we talk? Yes, we can talk. Can I record you? No. Can I take a picture of you? No. Okay, not now. But maybe next time in some months or no,
Yeah.
and this is
Yeah.
part of, I mean, this is part of how I and LolaMora Producciones, and I think you also, how we understand peace, security,
Mhm.
when we are journalists, but also when we are in front of women. I mean, what is security? What is peace for women? And sometimes it's not answering journalists who they don't know, and it is, we
Yeah.
have to understand it. This, I think so. Yeah.
That building trust is actually quite a momentum, and I've wondered that a lot with my past projects. It seems like I don't ever go to a place
Mm,
once, and the harder the reporting was, the more likely it becomes that I
mm,
go
mm,
twice, which is sort of an antagonism in itself, because um, you might make it one time to Ukraine in a war zone to report, and you came out alive, and you're just very, very
mm,
grateful for it. Do you want to go a second time? You put a question mark to it, but you do know that the second time the reporting will take a different depth if you
mm,
do it.
mm,
Um, I just came back from Pakistan, same story. I keep looking at my pictures going like, my goodness, my pictures do not match the stories and
mm,
the recordings I have in my head. Why is that? And then I actually realize how free we are here in Europe. When I say here, I am in Europe, you are not. Um, it's this ultimate freedom that I can take my camera, I can photograph mostly what I want. People to probably 90% of the time don't care anymore because they have become completely insensitized to the camera.
mhm,
But that is not the case in countries where either your soul is believed to be transported to somebody else if a picture is taken, or, as you said,
mhm.
security. It's like giving a story away that's supposed to be a very personal story, that is a family secret, that can go as far as basically
And
honor death.
besides, we are talking about a very small area, Isagen, in the north of
Mm-hmm.
Morocco, very small area where everybody knows each other. And we have to take into account that we were asking about regularization of something that always was hidden in a way, and there is
Yes,
a lot of
yes,
hypocrisy, you say, around the issue.
yes.
And so of course, only some of the leaders, local leaders, we want to answer your questions, of course, because they have the public voice, they know how to answer your questions, but women know.
Yeah,
And I remember,
yeah,
I don't know if you remember, but I remember very well a couple of interviews we did, one to a writer from Moroccan Belgium,
yeah,
Fatiha Saidi, and I have here a script where she says, regularization will bring down the hypocrisy that exists in Morocco regarding its consumption and will help women's autonomy. And Samira Lazari, who was there also, and I also interviewed her in Spanish, by the way, she says that women's group are creating cooperatives to process the plant for sale. So yes, there are women that can speak out, but there are others that not. And that's, I think, is something we have to take into account when we are journalists. Yeah.
absolutely. And yes, you're bringing up a couple of really, really interesting points there. I mean, it's also that that extra bit of freedom as soon as you leave your own country and you go into the next one, because these well, at least the first woman that you talked about, she now lives in Belgium, but she comes very frequently back to Morocco, I think,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And she had a complete different authority to be talking
Exactly.
about this topic than any of the women in Morocco who are actually under the daily effects of what
Exactly.
is happening with
Yeah.
cannabis. And it is it's quite it's quite baffling always to see how, you know, transporting someone's voice. I don't know, Blanca, how you feel about it, but I oftentimes, you know, when, I mean, especially right now, we're in such difficult times when it comes down to really good journalism. Good journalism is slow. Good journalism usually doesn't get the funding to really be done the right way. I mean, it does take a bit of money as well to do these travels, and we both basically sucked it up. We had our own journeys going to Morocco. We paid our own way. We buddied up so we could actually go a bit further. We pulled off the entire Voices of the Reef on cannabis production with literally almost zero budget. I mean, thank God TNI supported us in the way they did, and you know, without Peen as a quasi team member, we would have probably not been able to enter the spaces that we were able to. That was the door opener, because she had been working in these areas for 25 years already. Then I think TNI also put down a bit of money for the audio production, which was really, really lovely. And I can only say it again and again. We will also in the show notes publish the website that Blanca did to basically publish the entire piece in individual pieces. It's really beautiful, Blanca. I want to say this on air.
Well, again,
Congratulations.
it is a team. It is a team that allow me and you to do all these things, because alone it is not possible, no?
Yes, it's really, really difficult to get to such a production at the end when you're doing it complete solo. And I will say that it was absolutely worth gold to have that bouncing with each other. I mean, we spent many, many hours in the car going from Al Hoceima, Ketama to Chef Chawen, and then, you know, driving to other places. And we most of the time used that to really bounce our sort of common, you know, the individually accrued knowledge. You had these interviews with the women where I usually wasn't present. Then I had more the cannabis and hemp specific interviews, because that was sort of my, let's say, area of expertise. And then we would exchange on this on these different findings that we had gotten in the interviews. And I think that really put together a wealth of different viewpoints that are also allowing, I think our audiovisual piece is something that is, we're not coming with one single opinion. There's not the black and the white and the good and the evil. There's a lot of questions we're raising. There's a lot of very different viewpoints we were able to catch over this 2 weeks. It's something that makes you think. It's something that makes you ponder, and it's also something that gives you enough background information to come up with answers on your own if you want to.
Yeah, and I think this is possible because when you want to learn from the processes, and you want to really listen to people, and you don't go to places with a script already in your mind, with the ideas already in your mind, then it works. I think this is part of trying not to judge at the first time, not having prejudices, you say? Prejuicios?
Prejudices? Yeah.
And well, maybe you say, of course, you are a journalist, you don't have to. Well, but I say we are human beings and we also have to. No, I mean, we have to deal with all our ideas, no? Of course.
Yeah,
And I think it is very important. Yeah, I think it is very important when you, and for LolaMora Producciones and me, myself, it is like a baseline. We go there, we listen, and we record. Of course, we have a lot of questions in advance, of course, but then maybe you change, and the whole idea you had before changed after spending 1 week doing interviews. And maybe the first idea you had, let's say, on the impact of the legalization or regularization of cannabis on the families change completely. I mean, this is possible also.
Yeah.
But the fact is that, as you said, this is not a paid job. This is a job that really needs more hours, of course. I mean, it involves more and hard work. And sometimes that's the difference when you want to go deep into a reality and do a good analysis and have the whole issue of with different voices. Then you really need hours and spend time on the production, and no one is going to pay for you. I mean, for this job. And definitely, yes. And because here there is also something, no? Selling every time, trying to sell your productions is tiring.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I want to do whatever I want because I know this is good quality. I would prefer to have money in advance, and then trying to just spread and just disseminate the material, because sometimes it is really tiring to us asking for money for the productions. Yeah.
It is. And that can be a real killer also to good productions, I think. Now, Blanca, let me ask one last question before we then release our audience, or maybe not release them, but literally let them get on with the second part of our audiovisual production. I would like to actually know from you, what is your aspiration when you do the journalism you do? Do you believe that you can change something in the world we are living in? Or what is your big motivation, your big driver? Why do you do what you do?
Denouncing human rights violation, denouncing gender-based violence, denouncing war as the tool that nowadays is running our lives. Violence, war, violence against girls and women. So I know, and this is a debate that inside within LolaMora Producciones, the whole team of LolaMora Producciones, this is a debate we had so many times. For what? For what? And we realized that we have to repeat, we have to name, shame, praise, and blame all the initiatives that are around the world. DRC Congo, the situation now, let me just very briefly, but I would like to say that nowadays the east of Congo, the DRC Congo is suffering a lot. There are so many women being raped, and war is again in this region. And I live there, and we are trying to support journalists, but also activists there, because the situation right now is urgent, and because of war. And with this, I want to say that the only way is continue to naming the human rights violation, and naming the responsibles of these violations, and denouncing local and global crimes. And this is my motto. This is my this is it. I mean, Yes, sometimes it's repeating, because after 20 years naming rape as a tool of war, now we are seeing Ukraine, we are seeing DRC Congo, we are seeing Iraq, Afghanistan, you name the countries, and we are still talking about sexual violence as a tool of war, more and more. So repeating. I mean, my target, my objective is non-stopping doing this. Yeah, so simple.
Blanca, thank you for being you. Thank you for relentlessly re-energizing your motor in you and continuing to report on these stories. It's really it's almost cutting my breath here, because it's I mentioned it before, right now are really dire times for journalism. Journalists are being cut off from their loyal work they are doing, being told that they have to lie, that they have to report to preconceived opinions and storylines, and we will not bow to these new rules that some people in the world are coming up with. Thanks to people like you, because you're strong, you're incredibly, I'm missing the English word right now, but I really admire your will for what you're doing, and also to take all the risks that are connected to it. It's thanks to people like you that we are hearing the reality, that we are basically being confronted with the things that are really happening, and I just highly commend what you're doing, and hope that we will see many more amazing LolaMora Producciones, hopefully more in conjunction or in collaboration. And thank you so much, Blanca. Thank you for working together on this piece, and
we will continue. This is not the end.
No, this is not the end. Not our end, not the end of the Voices of the Reef on cannabis, because they also still have a long journey to probably get to the full rights of the indigenous people, of the Amazigh people. Yeah. We didn't go too much into that specific story, but I think our audiovisual piece will show this now, and I just want to wish everybody a good time with it. Take your time. The piece is in O-tone, mostly in Spanish. We do have some French in it, and we are using English subtitles, so hopefully you can understand the whole piece. And if not, then please do go to the website. It has a lot of extra information on it, and also for read, which means you can translate it and really let things sink. Thank you, Blanca. Thank you for taking the time and being with us today.
It was a pleasure, Maren. It was a pleasure, and I'm sure that we will see each other again, and we will work together again. Thank you very much, and thank you to Gaia also. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Yeah, muchísimas gracias, Blanca. It was lovely to see you again.
Un abrazo.
Ciao.
Criminalización y activismo político.
Tantos años de exportación que dicen primer país mundial de exportación, pero cuando ves la realidad del terreno no hay nada, la gente solamente sobrevive. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Algo falla. Según la ley internacional, Naciones Unidas han castigado a los cultivadores de todas las plantas dichas ilícitas, sea coca, sea opio, sea cannabis, para nosotros. Nuestro país estaba obligado de firmar la convención, que son los estados, las Naciones Unidas que mandan. Ha firmado esa convención y claro, el cultivador ha entrado en una fase crítica. Pronto, pero si me cogen las autoridades en el camino, sea la policía o la gendarmería, tienen que aplicar la ley, como Marruecos había firmado esa convención de 61 de prohibición.
La Convención Única de 1961 sobre estupefacientes de Naciones Unidas marcó un antes y un después en la prohibición de sustancias derivadas de la amapola, la coca y el cannabis. Con la Convención del 61 fueron abolidas prácticas tradicionales, espirituales o religiosas en todo el mundo, a pesar de que reconocía algunos usos lícitos como el medicinal, el industrial y en la horticultura. Esto último, sin embargo, no evitó que Marruecos se viera abocado a hacer cumplir la Convención, dando como resultado décadas de criminalización de miles de familias cultivadoras del Rif.
Tenemos una autorización histórica de los reyes de Marruecos. Solamente Naciones Unidas han prohibido el uso de las plantas dichas ilícitas, cannabis, opio y coca, para usos personales o otros usos, pero lo permiten para usos medicinales. Para usos medicinales está autorizado, no están prohibidos, pero autorizado. ¿A quién? A las empresas farmacéuticas, que es propiedad de estos señores que gobiernan el mundo. Pero hicieron la ley, hicieron la trampa. Había que luchar. Estos pueblos indígenas, autóctonos, propietarios de estas plantas, que lo han conservado desde siglos y saben utilizarlas como plantas culturales, tienen que defenderse. Hemos empezado a meditar para explicar a nuestro gobierno que nos salga, que nos haga hacer de esta situación hipócrita. La planta existe hace siglos. Y ahora hay una ley que dice prohibido, entonces esta población de aquí, ¿de qué va a venir? Por eso hemos decidido nosotros, a partir de los 90, militar para nuestros derechos humanos primero y para defender a nuestra cultura.
Décadas de incidencia política en Marruecos y en Naciones Unidas han demostrado la necesidad de escuchar las demandas de la sociedad civil para avanzar. Nueva York, año 2016. El Instituto Transnacional de los Países Bajos hace posible la participación de Abdelatif Adbibe en representación de las comunidades cultivadoras de cannabis en la sesión que la Asamblea General de Naciones Unidas dedicó al problema mundial de drogas. El Instituto Transnacional, o TNI, trabaja sobre políticas internacionales de drogas desde el año 1998, amplificando la voz de las comunidades cultivadoras de la amapola o adormidera, la coca y el cannabis. Abdelatif recuerda su intervención en aquella sesión especial conocida como UNGAS 2016.
Señores de Naciones Unidas, habéis creado una ley injusta, una situación de injusticia socioeconómica y ha afectado a todos los pequeños cultivadores de estas plantas, persecuciones, presiones llenas de jóvenes, mujeres sin hombres. Con el tiempo luego aún fuimos a otros eventos en Tailandia. TNI ha tenido ese valor de seguir, de mantener esa cadencia en favor de los pueblos, pequeños cultivadores, para que vivan mejor. De ahí también en África del Sur, en Colombia, en Jamaica, hemos encontrado con líderes y con autoridades de esos países de América Latina para hacer un frente común para defender los derechos humanos y defender una planta que va a salvar a la humanidad, pero bien utilizadas.
Legalización del cannabis, impacto y retos de la nueva ley.
El presente, bonito presente. Marruecos ha votado. Hemos tenido varios encuentros con las autoridades de Marruecos, sobre todo partidos políticos en los parlamentos, hemos defendido todo esto, hasta con el Ministerio de Interior. Marroquíes han sido inteligentes, lo han comprendido, sobre todo el rey. Entonces aquí ya hemos entrado en otra fase de la legalización del uso del cannabis a usos medicinales e industriales.
Febrero de 2021. Un giro cambia la relación histórica de Marruecos con el cannabis. La Asamblea Nacional aprueba la Ley 1321 y regulariza el mercado. A partir de ese momento, el cultivo y la comercialización del cannabis con usos medicinales e industriales quedan despenalizados. Descartado queda el consumo recreativo, que permanecerá ilegal. La ley reconoce la semilla autóctona Beldía y las áreas tradicionales de cultivo, como la zona de Ketama, dando paso a la protección de la semilla y al derecho a preservar el conocimiento ancestral de los pueblos del Rif. La ley se aprueba para 3 provincias rifeñas históricas en el cultivo y consumo del kif: al sur Taunat, al norte Chefchaouen, en la tierra de Yamal, y en la costa Al-Juzeimas, donde está la cooperativa de Abdelatif Advibe. ¿Qué significa en la práctica esta ley para el Rif, una de las regiones más rebeldes y pobres del país, con una gran densidad demográfica y una enorme biodiversidad, hoy en riesgo ante las consecuencias de la acción humana y el cambio climático? Las familias afrontan la regularización de manera diferente. Yamal en Chefchaouen.
Voy a hablar de mi zona porque estamos oyendo legalización, pero hasta ahora la gente no sabe qué van a hacer, porque como ha pasado un año ahora, el segundo año, todavía no sabemos nada cómo va a ser. La gente solo tiene imaginaciones. Malo, no vamos a ganar mucho dinero, cómo va a ser esto de legal, ganar dinero mejor que del cannabis ilegal, y la gente si lo prueba y gana dinero, va a aceptar, todo el mundo va a aceptar, pero si no ganan dinero, poco dinero, yo creo que no van a aceptar. La mayoría preguntan cuánto van a ganar cada kilo y cómo esas semillas, quién va a pagar esas semillas, nos dan esas semillas ellos o tenemos que comprar nosotros, y cómo tenemos que hacer, repartir la ganancia, pagarla. Están perdidos, no saben cómo van a hacer. Porque hasta ahora no han entrado ninguna agencia aquí o profesores para explicar el tema de la legalización, no.
El largo proceso hasta la legalización ha dado sus frutos. En Al-Juzeimas, el histórico activista Abdelatif Advibe ha impulsado una cooperativa que reúne a más de 30 familias en Isaguen. Cultivar, transformar y vender. En definitiva, tener el control sobre el proceso completo y aspirar a un comercio justo y una economía sostenible. Abdelatif.
Yo creé una cooperativa agrícola respetando las normas. He creado también una empresa y una cooperativa de transformación. Y ahora hace falta, estoy militando para unidad de transformación y de extracción de productos de principios activos de la planta entera, y buscar nuestro camino. Hay que buscarse la vida, claro, respetando las normas. Si no respetas las normas, hace falta una certificación internacional. El producto tiene que estar en condiciones para respetando la sanidad, la salud de la gente. Entonces ya tienes buen producto para poder entrar en mercados a nivel nacional e internacional.
Con la ley se crea la Agencia Nacional para la Regulación de las Actividades Relativas al Cannabis, conocida en Marruecos como la ANRAC. Una entidad donde están representados muchos ministerios y cuya función es implementar la estrategia gubernamental en materia de cultivo, producción, fabricación, procesamiento, comercialización, exportación e importación del cannabis y de sus productos con fines médicos, farmacéuticos e industriales. Mohamed El Mekawi trabaja en Aljuceimas, es investigador y estudia los potenciales usos del cannabis en la industria agroalimentaria. Dado que las semillas del cannabis no contienen THC, el elemento psicoactivo de la planta, su potencial es enorme. El Mekawi estudia los usos ancestrales y modernos del tratamiento de las semillas y sus cannabinoides. Mohamed El Mekawi.
Ils ont un rôle essentiellement de contrôle et de promotion.
La función de la Agencia Nacional es esencialmente de control y de promoción. No tiene presupuesto para hacer inversiones. La agencia hace la intermediación entre el comprador y el productor. También hace la prospección de nuevas iniciativas que quieran adherirse a un proyecto. Es decir, conecta a un agricultor o productor con quien quiere producir un medicamento a partir de la planta de cannabis. Así que la agencia trata de jugar un rol de conectar a ambas partes. En mi opinión, colocar al agricultor en la categoría de cultivador y productor solamente, no. Hay que acompañar a los agricultores para que puedan aprender las técnicas y las competencias para transformar la materia prima en productos y para poder venderlos. De esta manera van a poder beneficiarse de la planta. A mi manera de ver, hay que tratar la semilla Beldía como patrimonio para que no desaparezca con el tiempo. Hoy, la Agencia y el Instituto Nacional de Investigaciones Agroeconómicas llevan a cabo un estudio muy importante para proteger este patrimonio. Para mí, la implementación de la legalización del cannabis debería llevarse a cabo con una visión de desarrollo cuyo modelo debería estar dirigido a la población local. Desgraciadamente, los beneficios que busca el capitalismo van en el sentido de generar una industria y un tipo de negocio que no beneficiará ni a cultivadores ni campesinos, tampoco a la población local.
La lucha del pueblo Amazigh en defensa de la Beldía no termina con la ley del cannabis, pero puede ser una oportunidad para Marruecos de saldar una deuda histórica. En el Instituto Transnacional de Países Bajos se hace seguimiento, se viaja a la región de Ketama, hay expectativas y surgen nuevas preguntas. Pink Metal, del programa Drogas y Democracia del TNI, es experta en política internacional de drogas y acompaña el proceso en Marruecos.
TNI llevamos muchos años trabajando con un grupo de productores, no con todos, porque la organización de los mismos campesinos es un reto tremendo. En Aljuceimas, que hemos estado apoyando, siguiendo, llevándoles a muchos eventos internacionales para que cuenten sus historias, el uso de sus plantas, la importancia de que ellos son escuchados al nivel internacional. Lo bueno de la regulación, no hay inversiones de extranjeros en el cultivo, también se respeta la variedad autóctona, el Beldía, fundamental, y también es muy importante que esa regulación busca mejorar la vida de los campesinos más pobres, porque les otorgaron licencias para producir. La ley es un ejemplo para el mundo de si el problema del cultivo ilícito, que tiene rasgos de marginalización, cualquier respuesta reguladora que sale de los estados tendría que tener a ellos y a ellas como el enfoque principal. Es un paso en la dirección correcta, según entendemos. Los retos que está enfrentando son el tamaño y el acceso a los mercados internacionales de los productos que salen de esta regulación. En los usos industriales y medicinales hay una competencia feroz en el mercado internacional. Además, Marruecos tiene que cumplir con todos los estándares que maneja la Unión Europea. Farmacéutica, ahí es donde Marruecos también tiene que cambiar su percepción. No hay muchos médicos que prescribirán cannabis. Todavía hay un estigma sobre la planta y sobre sus usos. Otro desafío es la organización de los campesinos. Otro reto muy importante, en las 3 provincias hay una gran diferencia en el acceso al agua. El acceso al agua es vital La asistencia técnica también es un reto grande. La agencia prometió a los campesinos ayudarles con varios asuntos que tienen que ver con los requisitos y estándares que pues para los pobres campesinos no están a su alcance. La ley no regula el uso del hashish, el producto estrella del norte de Marruecos. Es un producto que se ha estado exportando y consumiendo en muchos países de Europa. Tiene mucha demanda, tiene un mercado asegurado, pero por los requisitos de los tratados internacionales, el gobierno de Marruecos, por ser un tema caliente y de no poder lograr un consenso en los mismos partidos, supongo que el Partido Islámico que estará muy en contra de este tema, que claro, ese es el sostén de los campesinos del norte. Ese es el reto más importante. ¿Qué se va a hacer con los hashish? O por lo menos temporalmente, mientras que se establezca un mercado para sus productos legales. Esa es la gran pregunta.
Dado que la cultura del kif es histórica, prácticamente nadie en la región es ajeno a ella. Las opiniones sobre el impacto que la Ley 1321 tendrá sobre la vida cotidiana de las familias rifeñas llegan de ámbitos muy diversos de la sociedad marroquí, desde las esperanzas de una economía legal y segura que frene la migración juvenil a Europa, hasta la perspectiva de género, que ve en esta apertura una oportunidad para la autonomía de las mujeres. Hay consenso en que pasar de una economía ilegal y violenta a una actividad regulada va a tener efectos muy positivos en la vida diaria de las familias. En la Asociación Cultural Miramar, en la ciudad de Aljuceimas, se reúnen activistas, gente de las letras, las artes, la música, jóvenes y mayores, ciudadanía con ganas de activarse. Miramar es un espacio cultural y formativo propio. Es un día para la presentación del libro Ecos de la memoria de las montañas del Rif, de la escritora belga marroquí Fatiha Saidi, natural de Aljuceimas. Además de la autora, también está presente otra mujer rifeña, fundadora del espacio Miramar, Samira Lazari. Ninguna de las dos pierde de vista lo que la ley puede aportar a jóvenes y mujeres. Para ellas, esta ley es una oportunidad, contribuir a tener mayor equidad entre hombres y mujeres. Fatiha Saidi y Samira Lazari.
Yo apoyo la legalización del cannabis en Marruecos. ¿Por qué? Porque ha sido una forma de criminalizar. La regularización va a proteger a quien hace este trabajo. Con la regulación se deja de criminalizar a la gente y se acaba con la hipocresía, dado que Marruecos ha practicado la cultura del cannabis desde siempre. La reglamentación puede proteger a todas las mujeres que hacen sus tareas en la economía del cannabis. Puede hacer que la gente trabaje sin miedo, en espacios más seguros, no escondidos. Puede ayudar a que haya seguridad en el empleo, que se cobre un salario, que la gente no sienta vergüenza de trabajar en negro, en un sector ilegal. Así que el impacto sobre las condiciones del trabajo puede ser enorme para la población en general y para las mujeres puede suponer autonomía. Creo que la legalización es importante también dado que aún hay un éxodo rural enorme desde el Rif a Europa. Pero Europa hoy es tierra de racismo, de extrema derecha en diferentes países. La legalización puede ayudar a que los jóvenes decidan quedarse en su tierra y vivir una vida digna.
No sabemos todavía la estrategia política de esta legalización, pero imaginamos que es un plus para la economía, primero, y generación de empleo y libertad a la mujer, porque es la que va a trabajar esa planta junto con el hombre. Hay cooperativas de mujeres y en el campo, en el medio rural, que trabajan sobre la planta y sacan aceite de esa. Este es uno de los proyectos que va a generar, que va a mejorar los recursos económicos de la mujer, más de la mujer.
hemos conseguido conservar, proteger esta planta que trajo el profeta Noé. Nosotros defendemos lo que es el recreativo. Es un proyecto que va a salvar a esta población de estas montañas. ¿Por qué? Primero, porque la planta está. Segundo, porque hay un saber hacer ancestral, los cultivadores saben hacer. Tercero, porque hay un medio ambiente increíble. Vamos a valorizar también la arquitectura tradicional construida con tierra y cáñamo y abrir clubes canábicos en Ketama.
Voces del Rif sobre el cannabis, un pueblo, una planta ancestral y un comercio millonario, la breve historia del cannabis en el Rif de Marruecos. Idea original Blanca Diego Vicente y Maren Krings. Guión, producción y dirección Blanca Diego Vicente. Postproducción de sonido y músicas Sandra Rodríguez Morán. Voces Tatiana Miralles Sáez, José Manuel Carmona y Sandra Rodríguez Morán. Narración Blanca Diego Vicente. Fotografía Maren Krings. Con el apoyo del Instituto Transnacional de Países Bajos, LolaMora Producciones, septiembre de 2024.